Hello. Recap of my recent mountains run bar. The missions for this achievement are to own or have subjects own the entire world as uh, but within the conditions there are actually two ways you can complete it. The achievement appears in your achievement list when you start as Ryu, but the conditions for the achievement are for only existing nations in the world to be the player, Riku, and Riku's subjects. Therefore, if you want to play with subjects or colonial nations, you have to stay as Riku for the whole game. However, you can duck switch, but if you do, you have to through one duck without any subjects, including without colonial nations. Now, this second option was my plan, and that is to make sure that I can get a better idea set and a better government type than what starts with. And the idea set and the government type that I have gone for were the Great Yuan ideas and the horde government type to enable me to access to the horde CB and to have access to raising. Now, as for the plan that I went into run with, let's actually go into the start of the timeline for that. The general plan is to immediately attack Sarigogir, use that to get into Tibet, form Tibet, use the Tibet mission tree to flip into Horde, and after that stay at Horde the rest of the game. Now for a more detailed opener, only thing that I was keeping an eye on in the opener is to make sure that Sarigogir does not ally Oirat. Obviously, starting as Tiny Ryu, you cannot defeat Oirat on your first war, but it doesn't happen that often. I think it was about 50-50 in my runs whether they would ally. So as long as they don't ally, the first step of the run for you, even on pause, is to sell all your ships but transports and to start building a transport up to 4 so that you can ferry over a free company from Riku. And on the 11th of December, no CB Sarigogir. After you defeat them in a war, do not full occupy them. Instead, wait for a different country around them to attack them, and then vassalize them to get into a defensive war, and then be able to annex the attacker and start coring some provinces around your new vassal. Now, in my run, the nation which ends up attacking is Kham, which was very nice because these provinces are part of the ones which you will need for Tibet and Tibetan missions you have to complete. Now, as for rest of the plan, after Tibet is formed, I have considered two religions to use for the run, either Buddhism or Hinduism. But after looking at the modifiers, Hinduism seems to be the clear winner. The monuments that Hinduism provides all have very nice bonuses, and the main which I was looking for is the monument in Doaba, which gives you -15 local autonomy. The Buddhists have that version of the monument as well, but there only gives 10% local autonomy, and Hindus also have other very nice monuments. They can get ticking war exhaustion from monument in Bali, which replaces their need, or well, which kind of substitutes the fact that they cannot get Defender of the Faith, and there are loads of other nice bonuses. You get loads of religious unity from Hindu monuments. You get tolerance, and you also get 20 CCR 10 from the monument in Varanasi, and 10 from choosing Shiva as a personal deity for your ruler. This means that in total, once I assemble all the bonuses in the run, I will have 70% coring cost reduction, 25 from administrative ideas, 25 from Yuan national ideas, and 20 from Hinduism. Now with religion, I had a certain thought how to play the early game religion, which didn't totally pan out, which I will comment on a bit more as the timeline plays. But the generic plan was to spawn Hindu rebels, but remain Buddhist, because the Eastern Religion Group gets the Unify China or Take the Mandate of Heaven CB on Ming, which allows you to take provinces for 50% war score cost. However, there are some issues which I will comment on a bit later, which which will mean that I didn't end up using it as much as I wish to use it. So let's get started in the run and to get to that point where I can comment on the religious troubles that I had. So here's the opening war, where I get a foothold in Tibet, and I also attack some of the hordes here, because for the mission tree, I will need to either own 10 provinces of the horde culture group, which is here, or to have a stronger ally, which I couldn't get, so I have aimed to own the 10 provinces. Also, I believe that there might be some sort of error in AI evaluation of how they calculate your strength if you have a vassal as the tributary, because Chagatai and Yarkand kept attacking Sarigyogir, my vassal, and then I would just call in Ming and they would get absolutely demolished. So I'm sure the AI must have attacked me thinking that Ming wouldn't join, but they did. So it was a real nice war here, which allowed me to grab even more of the provinces of the needed culture. Now I finally form Tibet, and I start completing Tibetan missions. So you need to make sure that you conquer all of the provinces around here. And then after I annex my vassal, I have the necessary provinces of the correct culture to use the mission, which allows you to flip into a horde. And from this point on, I will remain horde government type till the end of the game. Now the next step is to start expanding. So I start expanding into the Indian subcontinent and into Manchuria, and I start spawning Hindu zealots. Now I mentioned that there are some issues with the zealots, and after I conquer a few more provinces here, I will comment on what the issue was. So I have started spawning Hindu zealots down here in the Hindu provinces, and I had hoped for them to start walking through my country and start converting provinces. However, even with me reactivating them constantly, they just wouldn't move up here. And just for context, I do have lots of development in Okinawa and in Lhasa, because in Okinawa I developed Renaissance, and in Lhasa I developed colonialism. So ideally, to ensure I can convert to Hindu, I would like them to walk up here and at least convert Lhasa, but hopefully a few more provinces. But the rebels just wouldn't do that. They would just sit there. I even walked around, constantly reactivating them, but they would just walk back and forth between these two bits. I think in grand total I must have been spawning religious rebels for like since now till 1550, and in grand total they have converted like one or two Buddhist provinces here. And obviously, since the achievement is world conquest, I have to get into wars. And when I would get into war, some AI would walk over and kill all of my religious rebels for me, um, which meant that I would have to keep respawning them. But even as I respawn them, probably 10 plus times, they would just never walk into Tibet. Um, and so that really messed up my idea of continuously using the mandate CB for 50% province cost and having all of the provinces converted by zealots. And I ended up actually getting vassals in Manchuria and in China and feeding provinces to them, not to get more and more wrong religion provinces. Now would also be a good time to start talking about the idea sets that I have uh, taken at the start of the game. So first one was, of course, administrative, which even like when I last play actively was extremely good idea group, and they seem to have buffed it for some reason because they've added the stability cost modifier there into it, which used to be in religious, if I recall correctly. For context, the last world conquest I did was in the Emperor expansion, so it's been a while. So that was a nice surprise. They've made the best idea group in the game even better. And after that, I took quantity, and for the third idea group, I have originally planned to take diplomatic for the province war score cost modifier. However, due to some issues I had with the run, the diplomatic idea group kept getting pushed back and back. So first, when I got to the third idea group slot, I have realized that I can't keep taking more like Tangri, Confucian, and Buddhist provinces. Otherwise, I will move even further away from converted to Hindu. So I end up doing bits of vassal play. We keep going. I use a lot of miners here as vassals and conquer them, and then feed back lots of the areas here. And I also start instead of being active in China, I instead start conquering India a lot more actively to get more Hindu provinces, since my rebels don't want to convert anything. And yeah, and sorry, just to wrap up that thought. So for that reason, instead of diplomatic idea group third, I end up taking influence because I know I will end up having lots of vassals around here, and you obviously have lots of good modifiers for vassals from influence idea group, and since I will end up integrating them later, I also wanted to have the policy available for administrative influence, also integration policy. So at this point, Ming has finally exploded. So I have started eating into all of the miners here, while getting ready to go a bit more into India. Yeah, so there are some of the first wars in India where I grab a bit of Bengal. Next one is going to be Delhi. And at this point, we're getting quite close to the printing press. And my Hindu cells are still not doing anything. And now, as I've taken more Hindu provinces here and here, and I keep spawning more Hindu zealots instead of just sitting AFK here and walking back and forth here and here. Now I'm spawning more like here in the Orissa area, and they just when they want to go somewhere, they just walk through Jangpur, and Jangpur just kill the rebels off. So um, the Hindu religious rebels were a total failure this run. So I decided I will need to death push printing press in Hindu province and just hope that that will push me over the threshold for flipping Hindu, which luckily it does. So I ended up taking the Delhi state, which is quite a nice state for developing, and develop printing press there, and finally flip to Hindu, which of course you can see I did end up kind of wasting bit of an opportunity more of the mandate of FNCB on the remnants of Ming, but it was fine. I still have the horde CB against them. Now the next thing I'm trying to achieve is for Yuan. There are two ways to farm it, and Yuan are the ideas I'm looking for. You can either you need some a set of provinces, which I'll end up taking a few from Uzbek and integrating some of my vassals here and attacking Shun to get them. But aside from the province requirement, you either need to be the Emperor of China, or Emperor of China must not exist. So in order to stay a horde, I need to destroy a fully annexed Emperor of China. So that is now Ming. And this actually finally killing Ming has been a bit of an issue, because I ended up getting really awkward alliance systems here. So I had Ming allied to Korea, and Korea allying to all of these random other Chinese nations, and Ming also allied Japan, and Japan allied Vijayanagar. So doing any wars around here was always a massive pain, and especially Korea was, since they have the mountain for here, which you need to breach, well, that you need to get through to really get any war score on them, and they just ended up having really high quality troops, and of course I'm a horde, so I'm attacking a mountain fort, and I'm getting damage debuffs and roll debuffs when Korea is defending. So those ended up being really really painful wars, which was the next reason why I further delayed deploy ideas. So last one I commented was the third idea, influence. Now for the fourth, I've picked humanist, just to punish rebellions a bit better and not to bleed as much manpower constantly running around killing rebellions. And after humanist, I took defensive, because of the quite difficult wars against Korea and Japan, I felt like I needed a bit of a boost, and that allowed me to finally get all of these sorted out. So in a bit, I've taken, as I mentioned, I've taken the required provinces from Uzbek, and I will finally eat the rest of Ming. Now, once Ming is here's the war against Korea. Now, at this point, Wu actually ended up taking the mandate from Ming, so now I need to eat them instead. Uh, and you'll see that in a moment over a couple of wars. And I'm doing bits of cleanup here and here while I'm waiting for some truces. And we can speed up a bit till we get to 1645, since that will be when I finally form Yuan. There we go. So Wu was finally annexed. I form Yuan, so I get the desired national ID set with the current cost reduction and administrative efficiency. And at this point, I only had one other thing pre-planned before the run started, which is, of course, since I'm tag switching, I need to do true one tag without colonial nations. So I will need to move my capital to a colonial region. Now the requirements for that are that your capital is the only province on that continent, and ones which I will be looking to use is the Galapagos Islands. Since the Galapagos Islands are in the South America region, but they are not part of the colonial region, they can be directly owned by the colonizer. You can move your capital here, and then since yeah, it's going to be your only province in the South America region, you can then move your capital to a colonial region, so either North America or Australia. Now, for me, it's going to be end up being Australia, but we still have quite a few years before that happens. So uh, let's just continue with the wars in India, Southeast Asia, and Japan. So around this time, one idea group which is not in my final idea groups is exploration. I end up taking exploration just to kind of scout out who owns the provinces that I will need to take for my capital switching. And also, since I have them anyway, I end up using them to wall off Siberia. Do not have colonizers colonize it. However, unfortunately, Sweden and eventually Scandinavia colonizes it anyway. Now, in the next few years, I will finally start expanding westward while I'm waiting for a few truces with Japan, Korea, um, and the rest of the nations in India and Southeast Asia. At this point, I also grab a few new vassals, which I will end up using for a lot of the game. Now, these were Bakhmanis, Pars, and Kazakh. Um, Now, obviously, since um, uh, since I'm a horde and I can raise all of the provinces I conquer, usually don't need to feed as much to vassals. Um, However, I have after the campaign, I've decided I was quite happy that I used these three vassals, mostly to reduce the need for micro. Since the vassals will just run around, siege down random provinces. Um, Also, since I don't really have any forts in my country, um, without the vassals, AI will just run around and carpet siege everything. But the vassals were a really nice decoy, where the AI would walk over and try to siege their capital. So I could kill their armies without chasing them over all of China. Now at this point, I also get into war with Kilwa, so I grab some provinces from them here to get ready to kind of do more worldwide conquests rather than just focusing on Asia. And around 1700s, you also get your improved CBs. So with imperialism instead of a horde CB, I can finally attack everyone in the world. So I end up vassalizing Jolov and to use as a staging area for attack against colonizers, because I do need to execute that capital switch which I have mentioned. Now around this time, right at the end of Age of Absolutism, I also end up popping a golden era. It wasn't really necessary to pop it then. I've actually the thing that happened is that I've actually made a mistake in recalling what the objectives were in era of revolutions, and I have thought that you needed a vessel of 300 development, which I didn't have, uh, but it's actually only 250, which I do have. Um, but I didn't really need the golden era later anyway, so it wasn't a big issue that I popped it then. Now, uh, right now, I finally had my first war against Spain and Portugal, and from that I took the Galapagos that I mentioned, and I took a couple of provinces to use for the capital switching and to use as staging areas. So I grabbed two provinces in the Americas and a province in Australia, which I ended up using the province in Australia to finally change my capital. I also, oh, I missed a bit on the timeline, but there was a little sliver of Muscovy here, which I ended up vassalizing, and I started feeding Scandinavia to them, and also taking bits of Scandinavia for myself, and finally walled off at least a little bit of Siberia, which is 3 provinces, so it uh, doesn't really change anything at this point. And during this time, I'm also, of course, as truths allow cleaning up Korea and Japan, India, and Southeast Asia. Now that my capital is switched, I can finally eat all of the colonial nations without needing to constantly be at war with their overlord. So I took Australia, then I attacked the Ottomans, collaborated Tunis, and have eaten them. So now I have even better area for kind of troop movement and naval basing and all that to be able to attack the Europeans. Now, one thing which I did quite late is taking the last two important monuments, the Malta Forts and Alhambra. Um, Obviously, with the Malta Forts, I'm now, with the exception of my vassal, which actually might not even be Hindu. Don't recall what religions they were, but obviously I'm the only Hindu nation in the world. So taking Malta Force is just war score cost reduction against everyone at this point, and Alhambra gives you 5% more administrative efficiency. Um, but I do end up attacking them quite soon. So I'm just using this time to do a few wars in Africa, eat the rest of the colonial nations, and at this point, as I started eating the colonial Americas, I really wished there was in the stability tab next to the core all button. I really wish there was a raise all button, because at this point I'm basically constantly capped on points and have nothing to spend them on. I don't really need to develop anything or anything like that, since I have 75% local autonomy thanks to the Hindu monuments. So from all of my territories, I have lots of manpower and money, and I'm just trying to raise to manage overextension. Because I'm sure if you ever conquered colonial nations and did a true one tag, you know that you can just like conquer all of colonial Mexico, and then you have like hundreds and hundreds of percent of overextension. And I just spent absolute ages, just one province at a time, raising all of them to manage that. Now, quite soon there will be the war against. So I finally got into proper war with Spain and with Sicily to wall off Spain from the sea and to grab my monument from Sicily. Now, at this point, or well, slightly before this point, but I do end up allying the Commonwealth just for AE management purposes, because I'll be getting loads of AE in Europe, so I just want to avoid having to fight annoying wars, and just also to reduce much AE the Commonwealth gets on me, because your allies don't get as much AE on you as neutral countries. But even with them being allies, eventually the AE gets to, for them, and they will break with me in the end game. So here's the rest of the cleanup of the Americas. I also at one point and of the Sub-Saharan Africa. I also at one point ally England, and in some wars I feed them bits and pieces of Scotland to force Scottish capital elsewhere, so I can finally, because Scotland has all of these random colonies all over the place, and I just want to fully annex them. And their capital ended up moving right here into Canada, so that then made it quite a nice and quick war. Now at this point, if I wanted to end the campaign really quickly, I've started eating the HRE, and I could have probably just truce broken the rest of Europe and finish off the campaign quite quickly. But I wanted to have very stable and chilled out run, so in the end I didn't end up doing any truce breaks for the rest of the run, and I had plenty of time to just wait for truces. Now, one issue which popped up as I was eating HRE and then France is that I've accidentally went over my Gov cap, and reason for that was just the lagginess of the macro builder, which I'll demonstrate later, made me not realize how many kind of deterred me from building townhouses, because it was really annoying to build, and also made me underestimate how many I've really built, because the interface was so laggy. So I do end up going over my Gov cap here, which obviously tanks my administrative efficiency for a bit. So I just took a bit of time to fix that there, which I will demonstrate how I needed to do it once the timeline finishes. And right now it's really just cleanup. Austria, I have fought a few wars against them. A few times they were actually defending the bits of the HRE, but then they got like tens of thousands of ducats into debt, and they just wouldn't join any other wars. So I was just attacking them directly as the truce allowed. But quite a strange thing happened with them. I think it's going to be after the next war. Yeah, so I reduced Austria just to a couple of provinces. They are massively in debt, and I didn't receive an alert about them being bankrupt. But what I do receive is that this Austria has become an economic hegemon, or hegemon, which I have no idea how it happened, because as far as I know, you need to have 1,000 ducats of income, and like spoils of war are excluded. Not that they would be getting any, being fully enveloped in my nation, but I don't know, something has happened, something weird, and Austria became an economic hegemon. And so at this point, I'm integrating my vassals. So I've integrated Fars and Muscovy. Next, I'm integrating Kazakh and Bakhmanis. While waiting for the truces, I still have plenty of time. And so I'll just have a few more wars, and I think it's actually in the second to last war of the entire game. I finally grabbed a few remaining provinces that I needed for Mongol Empire, so I just farm it. I just farm it because why not? And of course the timeline bugs out as usual, and it's showing Commonwealth, but I can show you there definitely isn't any Commonwealth here. Just as a few last things, I didn't comment on the last 2 idea groups. I have commented up to the first 6. So here are the diplomatic ideas, which I had to keep pushing back from the first slot all the way to the 6th slot due to the condition of the campaign at the time. And after that, I just took 2 idea groups just to help me fight wars better. So obviously, offensive ideas give you the siege ability and lots of other nice bonuses, and quality ideas just have lots of combat bonuses. Now I mentioned I would demonstrate the issues I have with I had with the townhouses and why I didn't want to build them. Now this is going to be a lot better than it was during actual gameplay, because I did eventually have to build them. But even now, with them being in most of the provinces, you can just see that the game becomes so laggy when I open this menu. And right now it's still holding 10 FPS, but honestly, when I went over GovCap in the 1750s and 60s, I had to go build a million townhouses. This menu went from like frames per second to seconds per frame instead. So what I had to do is like zoom in on an area of the world where nothing's happening to boost my frame rate, and I just turned on an auto clicker. And honestly, I had to leave it for like probably 30 or 40 minutes, because it would take more than a second to build each townhouse with how laggy it was. And there are some other issues with kind of performance, even though I'm the only country in the world, so you would think that the game would have that much to calculate. Some of the tabs just seem really unoptimized, like going to the economy tab is really laggy. Religion tab just makes my game freeze for a couple of seconds. Yeah, that was kind of the only annoyance of the run, of just if I needed to do anything internal about my country, like anything with the economy or building anything in the macro builder, it was just painful to control. Even now, it's gonna take me a bit to find liquid out of this. Yeah, and last thing I wanted to mention with kind of the stability of the country, I have mentioned before that I wanted it to be really kind of easy, stable run, where I had lots of resources thanks to my minimum autonomy. And if we have a look at some provinces, even for provinces of wrong religion, wrong culture, with rebel sentiment procced, as soon as I core things, all of the rebellions are going to disappear. only provinces which are actually proper rebelling are the ones with revolution modifier, because I just really have no way to overcome further 25 national unrest. I did not end up doing any disasters this run, um, because I was able to get 100% absolutism cup anyway. I kept one privilege with the tribes to get my national manpower modifier, and my loyalty is mostly maintained through my monuments, which there's a monuments over here, which gives you, there we go, 15% loyalty equilibrium, and with with this with this great project here, with this monument here, you can get last 10 bits of points of absolutism to be able to have max absolutism without current country and without tribal hierarchy. Be able to get a further 5% coin cost here. So yeah, in the end I have 75% foreign cost, not 70 that I mentioned previously. Yeah, so that's the run. I think kind of shows I didn't play the game for a real long time before this, but I think if you are patient enough to play through EU4 late game, I think pretty much everyone can get free mountains using this strategy, because you just have such a surplus of monarch points. Since the mid game, you basically don't need to concern yourself with any of them. Are capped all of the time, thanks to all of your racing, and you can't even take any ideas because you're just so far ahead. Okay, thanks for watching.